Hello and welcome to Granada Reports.
Hello there. On the programme this evening,
turning to technology to keep children safe. The detectors set off more than 100 times in one day as pupils struggle to break the habits of vaping.
We've found them hidden in shoes, we've found them hidden in underwear, we've found them hidden in waistbands. It is an addiction they don't feel that they can go without.
British royalty joins acting royalty to encourage the breast cancer screening experts of the future.
A new job for the former Liverpool manager, but will it see him back in the UK?
Keep dancing! We join Strictly star Sam Quek hard at work in Liverpool ahead of Saturday's show.
And after the rain, the price for some drier, sunnier weather for the rest of the week is a brief burst of Arctic air. I'll have your latest forecast.
So first tonight, to a vaping crisis engulfing our region's schools and the fears among teachers over how to tackle the problem.
There's been a huge rise in the number of school-aged children using vapes, which should only be sold and used by people who are 18 or over.
But not only are vapes more available, amid claims packaging in e-cigarettes are deliberately aimed at pupils, many are illegal, with some even laced with harmful substances.
New figures out today show in Greater Manchester alone, almost half of young people used illegal vapes containing THC, a substance found in cannabis.
In the second in a series of special reports, Anna Yosef visits one school going to great lengths to kick the habits.
The vape sensors were fitted into every single toilet cubicle. The very first day that they were fitted, they went off 112 times, which tells us that some young people could not last an hour without needing to come and use the toilet so they could use a vape.
This head teacher has turned to technology to try and stop students skipping class to vape in the toilets. He says pupils as young as 11 are starting at his secondary school addicted to vapes.
If a young person feels they want to fit in, they might do it because of peer group pressure, and before they know it, they've slipped into an addictive habit that is as simple as just leaning into the blazer and taking a puff.
Pupils aren't punished if they're found with a vape. Instead, they're given help to beat their addiction. The school's focus is on student safety and educating both children and parents about the risks of vaping.
The vape sensors will tell us if there's an illegal amount of nicotine in a vape, so then we know that vape has come from the underground market, and it means then that we can report that to the police and to trading standards that can identify the source of that. But it also tells us if that vape contained THC, which is a cannabis derivative that can have an immediate impact upon a young person.
Some of your students have actually become seriously ill and needed hospital treatment because of vaping.
Yes, so in the past 3 years we've had instances where young people have collapsed in a toilet cubicle. We've had young people that have collapsed and then stopped breathing as we awaited for the paramedics to arrive.
So these are the vapes that myself and the head teacher have confiscated this academic year. As you can see, there's quite a selection there. There's various shapes and colours. There are obviously lots of different varieties. We've also got vape fluid here. This one here is a rechargeable one. If we suspect a child of vaping and we've not actually seen the vape and we think it's hidden on them, we would, and they're denying it, what we might say is, we think you've got a vape, we're going to use our metal detector.
Got one here?
Yep, and then we would just use the metal detector, and as you can see, it's beeping where the vape is.
Where have you found them hidden?
We've found them hidden in shoes, we've found them hidden in underwear, we've found them hidden in waistbands. I think it starts as peer pressure. I think their advertising is definitely designed at young people, and it is an addiction they don't feel that they can go without, and it is part of their culture that with friends that they do vape, and I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
Official figures show the number of children vaping has tripled over the past 3 years, with 9% of 11 to 15-year-olds now vaping. And the North West has got the highest numbers of teenagers who vape.
It starts from one person and then like the friend group does it and then other people do it because, again, they want to fit in and stuff. But I think it's also the people making the vapes that also attract them, because by the colours, by the names.
How easy is it to get hold of vapes?
It's really easy because people just go and buy it off like a corner shop in the street and then they sell it to them.
Ralph started vaping because he wanted to fit in.
Well, they just like do it, it's fun and you'll fit in. So then I just kind of did it.
He stopped after his mum found out.
So I was like out and about doing it, and then someone saw I was doing it and told my mum, and then she just told me off.
Leonard agrees it's easy for people his age to get vapes.
Sometimes they go to the corner shops and stay outside and ask people over 18 to get them. They get them a vape and they'll give them money for it. That's normally what they do.
Last month, Greater Manchester Police seized a haul of illicit and counterfeit vapes believed to be worth around £1 million. They were hidden behind a secret door in a vape shop in Salford. But police admit it's an ongoing battle to keep potentially harmful products off the streets. I've been to schools where students have been hospitalised because they've used contaminated vapes that have been laced with THC or spice. How big an issue is that?
For us, it's quite a big issue. So we had our first case in 2019 where a child was hospitalised, and as a result of that we've launched Operation Mandrake, which allows us to test the substances afterwards, and it allows us to put alerts back out to people. But to give you some form of idea of the scale of it, I'll use some figures from the UK Border Agency. In 2021 they seized 4,500 illegal vapes. In 2023 that was over 4.5 million. So it's a really big issue.
As well as the obvious dangers of illegal vapes, police say predators are now using vapes to sexually and criminally exploit children.
We've seen situations whereby children are sold or given vapes for free. That might happen once or twice, and then after that point they're told that they owe money for that, and then that child can become debt bonded to an exploiter and be told that they have to do things. That child then feels obliged to do that, and that is them then trapped in that circle of exploitation.
With underage vaping at a record high across the region, how many more children are at risk of exploitation? Anna Yosef, ITV News.
Really worrying stuff. Earlier I spoke to John Dunn from the UK Vaping Industry Association about what more can be done to dissuade teenagers from taking up vaping.
Well, first of all, it's extremely important that we do acknowledge the fact that there is an issue with vaping in young people. But the key here is to enforce the laws that are out there. It is illegal for anybody under the age of 18 to vape and to be sold vapes by a retailer. But this is not being enforced robustly. And the second point is to ensure that the stores that are selling vapes are where these products should be sold. We're seeing them in things like sweet shops, we're seeing them in things like hairdressers, for instance. So we're calling for the government to impose a licensing scheme which we reckon will raise around £50 million per year. Now that 50 million could be used to give to trading standards to do more enforcement in our sector.
We've spoken to a trading standards officer who has told us that this is the biggest problem nationally that trading standards has seen, and that the industry is like a monster that's gone out of control. I mean, does your sector bear any responsibility? Bright packagings, the names that flavours are giving. I mean, many people say that your sector is part of the problem.
Well, I think the issue here has been really how popular disposable vapes have gotten over the last 3 years. Now, young people will always experiment with adult products. That's a given.
Could you take away the bright packaging, for example?
Well, I don't think packaging really is the issue here. We have other adult products that come in bright packaging as well, but we're not calling for those to be banned. But absolutely, anything that's got a cartoon character, for instance, on it, those products shouldn't be out in the marketplace. And we're absolutely ready to work with the government to help stamp those out.
Your industry is now worth billions of pounds. There are more people who are using vapes who never previously smoked. We're talking about kids here, kids who hadn't previously smoked, who are picking up vaping.
Absolutely, and this is why we want to stamp this out. If the young people cannot get these products, then that's going to be reduced. But there's always going to be an element of experimentation. But if you look back at youth vaping numbers from, say, 3 years ago, the numbers were far less. So this is an issue that's just started recently, and not over the last 15 years that vapes have been available.
And what are your thoughts on the tobacco and vape bill? Do you think it will make any difference? Do you think it is likely to work?
I think it has to be really close closely looked at, because there's a fine line between making these products unavailable for adult smokers who are looking to quit, and vaping is the most successful way that adults quit smoking here in the UK. So we don't want to disturb that part of it, but we want to make sure that the products are not readily available to young people. So again, we're ready to work with the government. We know where the loopholes are that some of these unscrupulous retailers and distributors are using. We know how to close them down, and we're quite happy to work with the government to do so.
John Dunn, thank you very much for your time.
The day's other news now, and the public inquiry into the crimes of Lucy Letby has today heard about an email she sent to an occupational health nurse admitting she maybe did something wrong. Catherine de Berger was tasked with looking after Letby's mental health after allegations were made about her. She was asked about the email where Letby told her, "I feel as though this must be my fault. Maybe I've done something wrong to the babies and blame myself." She said at the time the email hadn't given her any cause for concern.
Manchester's city centre has the worst air quality in the country, according to new government data. The annual measurements found that the amount of air pollution was more than 5 times the limits recommended by the World Health Organization. Metro Mayor Andy Burnham previously promised to reduce air pollution to within legal limits by next year, but changed the targets to 2026 last month.
Pensioners in Bolton could be set to receive financial support to offset cuts to the winter fuel allowance. Councillors will vote tonight on the plan to create a £200,000 fund dedicated to supporting pensioners through the winter. The council would use unspent money after a number of projects came in under budget. Next, and British royalty met Corrie royalty in Manchester today at a breast cancer unit in the south of the city.
The Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, and Sally Dinaver were visiting staff and patients at the Nightingale Centre, which is raising money for a training academy dedicated to screening.
Both women have been on their own cancer journey and were joined by others who've survived the disease too.
Our correspondent Rob Smith was there, a warning that his report contains flashing images from the start.
On the surface, it was a duchess serving cake to a nurse in a hospital cafe. Deep down, it was 2 breast cancer survivors exchanging experiences over a treat. Sarah Ferguson came to Manchester's Nightingale Centre to help raise funds for the National Breast Imaging Academy. It's building a new home to train the next generation of cancer screeners. And she's urging women not to ditch any mammogram appointment, like she almost did.
It was very hot and I didn't really want to drive into London. Isn't it ridiculous to think that I wouldn't be sitting here if I hadn't have made that drive? But because I went in and I went, it's going to be fine, you know. I had a mammogram last year and of course it wasn't fine. I'm sitting here with a mastectomy and I know exactly the feeling. It's interesting to be able to, for once, have an understanding. And I know it's not a sort of trophy and a medal that you do understand, but if you've gone through it, then how beautiful that you can share and know the pain.
Pain that nurse Keisha Chadwick felt at just 28 after giving birth to her first child.
It was a massive shock and it stole my first time mum experience because that was just taken up by hospital appointments, chemotherapy, surgery. It just goes to show breast cancer doesn't discriminate. It can happen to anyone, any age, the Duchess, somebody like myself, somebody like Sally off the TV.
Coronation Street's Sally Dinaver introduced the Duchess to the Prevent Breast Cancer charity, where both are now patrons. It's working to find the last £600,000 of the near £4 million going into the Imaging Academy. And the actor knows what difference it'll make.
We're talking about saving so many people's lives and also a future, a generation without breast cancer. You know, I've got 2 daughters and, you know, I don't want breast cancer to be meeting these young people today. I just want us to get screened early.
The Academy's lead doctor told me they want to make an impact on a shortage of mammograph staff.
How many people do you hope that you're going to be able to train year on year? physically within the building, probably up to about 40 or 50, but across the country far more, because we will run training courses for people nationally. Another thing we have is we have a very big online presence, and we have developed a large number of online training modules which have been accessed many, many thousands of times by trainees across the country.
Two survivors from two different worlds, more than aware of the difference screening makes. Rob Smith, ITV News, Manchester.
Important work being done at the Academy. Now, all flights from Manchester Airport to Florida have been cancelled as the US braces for Hurricane Milton. The storm is expected to make landfall in the next 12 hours and could be the worst to hit the area in over a century. Airlines are warning there will be extreme disruptions for passengers until the storm passes.
Owners of Café Blah in Manchester, which is threatened with closure, have spent a night in the building and are refusing to leave. They're in a dispute with their landlord over their tenancy, and this week found the locks had been changed without any notice. They've accepted they'll have to leave eventually and are asking for enough time to do so. The landlord is yet to comment.
We just want a fair period to vacate the building. It has got to that point, you know, in the past we were kind of negotiating the price of it. We didn't feel it was fair, but right now, yeah, we just need a bit of time to empty 4 years worth of stuff.
OK, here's what's still to come on the ITV Evening News at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up on the ITV Evening News, a matter of life or death. The warning to Americans with Hurricane Milton just hours away from Florida. Here, how thieves are breaking the law and risking lives to lower their energy bills.
You cannot be serious! That ball was on the line!
And the change to Wimbledon that could make outbursts like this a thing of the past. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
It's time for more sport now, and Jurgen Klopp has a new job. Here's David with the details.
Yes, the Liverpool hero is back in football, but don't worry, Reds fans, he's not returning to the Premier League. Klopp has been named as the new global head of soccer at Red Bull. The 57-year-old will take on a strategic role supporting the company's 5 clubs in Germany, Austria, America and Brazil. It's his first job since leaving Liverpool, where he won 8 trophies in 9 years, including the Premier League and the Champions League.
A few months ago, I said I don't see myself on the sideline anymore, and that's still the case. But I still love football and I still love working. I want to learn again, because when you're in the job and you have to play every 3 days, you barely have time for that. And now I have time and I have the opportunity.
In the Women's Champions League tonight, Manchester City face the best team in the world when they take on Barcelona. They kick off the group stage with a huge sellout home tie against the reigning European champions. Well, the game sees the return of 2 former City players, Kira Walsh and Ellie Roebuck. And despite the looming reunion, there's been no work talk on the chat.
I speak to Ellie every day. Every day. She's one of my best friends anyway, so I obviously speak to her about how she is in general. Kira the same. Honestly, if you go back through our chat history, I think absolutely nothing about football. I think saying it itself, having Barcelona here at the Joy Stadium against Manchester City is a game most people would circle and say they're excited about. So the same for the players, same for me, the staff, the club.
To Rugby League now, and a glitzy night celebrating the best of Super League. Well, ahead of their grand final with Hull KR at Old Trafford on Saturday, Wigan's Junior Nsemba was named as the Young Player of the Year, while in the women's game, Matty Smith was named as the Coach of the Year after winning the Challenge Cup and the League Leaders' Shield with St Helens. Well, next to boxing, and 2 years ago, Jack Massey was working on a scaffolding site. Now, the Manchester Cruiserweight is the newly crowned European and Commonwealth champion. And this weekend, he looks to add a world title to his growing collection of belts. Chris Hall caught up with him before he flew out to Saudi Arabia for the fight of his life.
Jack one smack Massey!
Some boxing careers explode from the outset, others brew slowly while fighters wait for that perfect moment. For Jack Massey, at the age of 31, that moment is now.
Had to be patient, yeah. It just shows these opportunities, you know, you never know what's around the corner.
And I knew sooner or later it'd come. You know, I'm very stubborn, and you know, I could have quit boxing a lot of times in my career.
Was there a moment when you considered leaving the sport?
Yeah, definitely. It was probably before the Jurassic Parker fight. I was on the scaffolding site with my brother. I actually got the phone call whilst I was working on site, and you know, do you fancy the Joe Parker fight sort of thing? And I was like, yeah, let's have it.
Have you ever been back working on the scaffolding since then?
No.
He's climbed the ladder quickly. After just 4 weeks' notice, he beat European and Commonwealth champion Isaac Chamberlain in June. Just part of a life-changing 18 months, which also saw him become a father and a husband. The honeymoon postponed to make way for the trip to Saudi Arabia.
I fight for my family now, and that's what really gives me, you know, massive motivation going into these fights. And I'm lucky to be in a job where I can see my daughter. You know, I'm not working 12-hour days, and you know, finish training, I'll go home, you know, see my little one.
Dreams are born in this camp. From two-weight world champion Natasha Jonas to former champs Paul Butler and Scott Quigg, Jack can tap into their expertise to fight Jai Opataya, one of the most feared fighters on the planet, on the undercard to the super fight between light heavyweights Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev.
You know, I was at the press conference, and Bivol was just over my left shoulder, and Beterbiev was just over to the right, and it was like, that's a fight what's going to go down in history. And these opportunities, you know, they only come around once in a lifetime.
He's got to go over there and make sure he's not a rabbit in the headlights with it. It's a big stage for him. Jack Massey does have that puncher's chance. It's a big ask, but that's why everyone tunes into the boxing. You just don't know what's going to happen.
And how many times have you visualised having your hand raised in the ring?
Every time I get in bed at night, it's always plays through my mind, going through the fight and getting my hand raised.
It would be one of the great boxing shocks, but Jack, on his best day, could make it his Arabian Night. Chris Hall, ITV News, Manchester.
Yeah, it is a big ask, but good luck to Jack out in Saudi Arabia. That's all your sport for tonight.
David, thank you. In fact, David, before we go, how's your dancing?
Yeah, thanks for that.
We've heard it's excellent.
Well, do you know what? I'd like to think that after a few drinks, I'm good. But then when I watch it back, or whenever anyone shows me videos back, I can definitely confirm I'm a terrible dancer.
Always the way. I can imagine David doing his thing on the dance floor, though.
He's got 9 left feet, not 2.
Doing the paso doble.
Well, I can't imagine. Maybe not as good as former Olympian Sam Quek, whose moves have been gracing our screens each Saturday on Strictly Come Dancing.
The Liverpudlian wowed judges as Lara Croft last week and is now hard at work on her latest dance, the Samba.
We sent Rachel Pritchard along to the studios in Liverpool for a catch-up.
7, 8, Volta, 1.
Well, Sam and Nikita, thank you for inviting us to your training session. How's it going?
It's going well. I think well done for finding us, because it's a bit of it feels like a secret location. You can see
It is a secret location.
It is a secret location. You can see views across Liverpool, so we're really spoiled. But it's going well, I think. Every week, for me anyway, is like starting from scratch. No dance experience, and all I'm doing is trying to give 100%.
As an Olympic hockey player, is there any crossover between the training that you had to do to reach that level to the training you're doing for Strictly?
Physically, I think it's quite different. Obviously, with hockey, it's explosive, it's strength, it's power, it's endurance, fitness-wise. But with dancing, it's very much balance, holding positions. But I'm just enjoying it.
Paso Doble last week. Craig said it was hot, hot, hot. You must be over the moon with that.
Anything positive from Craig, I'm going to take completely. But I think it was the outfit. I felt so at home being Lara Croft. I walk in on a Friday, we find out what the concept is, what the look is, what they're going to do hair and makeup-wise. And each week, I'm a little bit like, oh, is that going to suit me? But you have to trust the process. You have to trust the professionals.
And Nikita, how long does it take you to come up with the routines?
I start a week in advance, just with planting ideas here and there, and then the Sundays, where we're supposed to be free, I'm choreographing throughout the whole day.
So at what point in the week does it click into place?
I remember the routine normally by a Wednesday, and I go home with homework, don't I?
Wednesday is kind of, let's say, hopefully the last
That's when Nikita starts to panic.
Yeah, that's where you see, I'm not anymore just thinking, I'm just rushing around, going everywhere, yeah.
And what do the kids make of it?
Molly, my daughter's loving it. She loves anything to do with music, dresses. Zach, my littlest, enjoys watching, but then as soon as mummy's off the telly, he's off.
So, guys, what can you tell us about this week's show?
We are doing the samba to Hips Don't Lie.
Yes.
Hips don't lie. Well, we've loved watching you. Best of luck for this weekend, guys. We're rooting for you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Keep dancing.
Well,
Good luck.
Well, my hips certainly do lie. And this is not the moment that Anne and I dance a tango. Absolutely not.
Thanks, Lee.
Here's Nick.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello, it's been a fairly dreary, cloudy, damp day today, all looking very autumnal. I think more of these leaves will be coming down with the blustery conditions today and also the frosty nights on the way for the rest of the week as well. Because our weather is changing, we're going to get some drier, sunnier conditions. I know that'll be very welcome, but it is going to feel colder with that chance of a touch of frost overnight. And the reason for all of this, low pressure, which has brought today's cloud and rain, is pulling away. The isobars pointing to the north over the next couple of days. That's the Arctic air, which we're moving down across us. So a change of air mass, a change in the feel of things. The temperatures will be a few degrees below the average for the time of year. But then again, it is going to be drier and sunnier. And I know a lot of people would prefer that type of weather to the cloud and rain and the mild conditions, which we still have out there at the moment. So still some further outbreaks of rain to take us into the night. But notice the clearer skies just beginning to filter down from the north later in the night, the arrival of that Arctic air, and temperatures in the lowest around 5 or 6 degrees as we kick off our Thursday morning. So it is looking like a much brighter day tomorrow. Still a chance of maybe catching the odd shower early on around Merseyside, for example. But for most of us, it is going to be dry. The odd shower popping up in the afternoon in the Pennines, very isolated. Top temperature around 11 at best. Most of us falling a bit short of that, and a few degrees below the average for the time of year as well. But overall, a much drier, a much brighter day. We'll continue that weather into Friday as well. Just a slim chance of picking up the odd shower out there. Just bear in mind, quite a good chance of seeing the northern lights overnight into Friday morning. And after that frosty start, another largely fine day with sunny spells on Friday.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
So I was more of an Irish dancer in my youth, so I could teach you a two-hand reel, but I wouldn't know where to start with a rumba.
I would love to see that.
I'm back
That's our
later.
job for later. Bye.